me go back to SAAADMS. There's a lot of them here. No matter what form you're in, there we go. Wherever you see that little, star, that little asterisk at the end of a word, it's required. And if it's not filled in, you will receive a little reminder, a banner telling you that, oops, you can't go any farther until you fill this out. So if I take that out, if I take this out right now, right, and I hit save, it's going to tell me it's required. There we go. It's telling me it's missing, and it tells you exactly what's missing. That's the beauty of this. You don't have to think about it. It'll tell you exactly what's missing. And this also will show you the term down here. While we're here, let's just do this real quick. So maybe it's a 3+2 student right away, and here's your major. And it tells you it's a bachelor. So obviously this doesn't work right for bachelors, right? It's more of it's a different coding for that. But if maybe there's a dual major here for a different program, and you need to, and it's missing, and you want to add it. These two little arrows down here. Oh, before I go any farther, you probably remember each one of these things. I'll just close them all. Each one of these areas are called blocks. So from this block, if you want to go from this block to this block, or to this block, now you see that it's all grayed out here, right? The insert, delete, copy, filter, it's grayed out, meaning that you can't change anything. These two little arrows with the lines at the lower left let you click from block to block to block. So if I click to this one, wow, so it must be because because of my status, you probably have access to it. If I click to this, it highlighted this whole line, and my filter highlighted. My insert, delete, or copy did it. So that has to do with my permissions in this particular form, right? It's limited, but from here, I could filter looking for certain information. If I wanted to go down here under priority, field of study summary, I would click the block again. And here I could hit insert and add another major. For a dual major, one is always a priority, one's a secondary. So the priority would be number 1, and the secondary would be number 2. And you define the term, the type of major, the field, right, the department, and anything attached to it that's required. The filter, if you haven't used it yet, I can't access it. It's kind of like a query. If you're looking for something, it lets you search. And that's really what the filter defines. Does that answer your question, Karen? Okay, good. So that's pretty much it when it comes to this. I'm going to close out of this. So that's SAAADMS. Now, SPAIDEN. Once everything's in place, they're ready to go. They're going to start registering for classes. Then this becomes active. And then this is where you would go mostly to change. If you look at all these tabs at the top, you probably have done a lot of this already. It's pretty much everything's here. The critical thing here about all this is the person and non-person. I'm going to close all these other ones for right now. And identification. So, and this looks like it's not set up, the non-person, but if you ever wondered about this, here's your person, right? The first name is Jared, last name is Brasler. So maybe Jared has a different name that he wants to use. He can add a different name. And see here, right here, my insert, delete, copy, and filter are highlighted. So say someone changed their name legally. You never want to delete the name. You never just want to update this. You want to insert. I can't do it because I don't have the permissions. You want to insert a new field and put the new name. And that way it would identify as the primary one. And here's the preferred name right here. But you always want to add if someone changes their name. Someone gets married, they change their last name. Again, you want to insert with the new name, and then make that the priority. Now, if you're ever curious about this non-person thing, Some schools use this. Yeah, I don't think it's even activate. Yeah, it's not even active, so you don't have to worry about it. But just so you know, if it ever becomes active, some schools use this to give IDs to things. So maybe you have a third party company that does certain things. They give it an ID.
Okay, I've had in the past some two international students, and you may have heard this question before from me, and I just want to make sure it's still correct. They don't have a last name. They just don't have a last name. And I was told at the time when we were working EMIS and AIS to put a period. So what do we
Yeah,
do with this?
that's yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. A really good question, and it happens a lot. There are certain countries that don't have last names. They
Mhm.
have students from a city or a village.
Right.
I think the decision was to use the period. You might want to check on that. But what do you do right now? Is it going through? Everything's okay?
I haven't had one. I haven't had
Oh,
one. I've only had two, and that was before, Slate and Banner made its appearance. But that always stuck in my mind, in the back of my mind. What do we do with the new system?
yeah.
So,
Well, let me check into that. That's a really good question. Any existing records? Right now, academic history is still being pulled over. But really, what you have on this is your primary person name, any preferred name, and then any alternate identifications, right? A name type. There's a name type, right? You may at some here's HR preferred name. Here's a preferred name. If this is your addresses. This is where all your addresses will be. And it's a type of address. So, and this is where you would add more than one address. So this now goes with residency. Remember in the Gaston, you have your residency. What type of residency? Here now is what type of address. They go together. If you have more than one address, again, you don't want to delete them. You want to add them. So I'm going to click insert because this is here and it says mailing. So this particular student has a mailing address. Here it is, right? Jackson, Wyoming. I can't change it here because it's in the system, but I can add a new one. So I'm going to click insert, and you can, define. If you leave it blank, it means it's open all the time. But here, this is what I wanted to show you, your address type. So this is now, again, this goes with your residency, is the address your residence hall, an international? Is there a parent or guardian that mails information? Here's the mailing one that's on number one on this. Is it a local? This is how you would define your address, aka residency, for a current semester. I can tell you over the years, I had some students that had like 50, 60 of these because they moved around a lot, or they came from military families, and every summer they went home to their family, and their family was in another country. So this becomes very large for some students, depending on their environment. And notice that when I click business over here for address type, automatically over telephone type, it went to business. All right, I'm going to save that.
I have a
How do you
question.
like that? Sure, go ahead.
All right. So with international students, they obviously when they first come here, they have, or when they've done their application, they'll have their home address from whatever country they're in. And then I believe I forgot how soon they have to update it. Now, it was my understanding they can go straight, they can go into Banner, correct, and change it there, or do we have to do it? Because they
As of
have
right now, yeah, it's a really good question. As far as I know, and let me double check, because as of right now, students cannot go in to self-service and change their personal information, which is under which is called profile.
Mhm.
Um, it it will eventually, not right now.
Okay, so a student could go in and change their name just in random? They can go from a Jones to a Smith? Or don't
No,
they?
in fact, I think this is still being set up,
Okay.
but, and it's probably gonna request a form or something and some kind of approval. But at some point, when all this is set up and done, it
Mhm.
will be a process, and they will, once, I guess, approved or something, it will go through. Cody, I don't know if that's been set up yet or not. I don't wanna say too much on this, cause I know everything's in transition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know, I'm
Cody,
sorry.
yeah, Cody, do you know?
I haven't been in the loop a lot with the banner. What's going on with that?
Okay. It's a really good question. Hold on to that question for the summer. Okay, real quick. Armed Force Services. So in SPAIDEN, under biographical information, here's where is another piece of the veterans option is. You have the option for Armed Force Service Medal Indicator, disabled veterans, the date of their discharge, their veteran file number. So
Mhm.
both of these files, the Gashin and SPAIDEN, but this is where your veterans information goes, and pretty much your other information. They kind of go together. That's why there's so many tabs between these. Um, yeah, that's where all this information goes. This is your primary place. So for right now, if a student wants a change of information, this is where it would be updated. Here's your date of birth. You want to change that. Social security number. This is also where they can request confidentiality.
Mm.
Now, in real quick, in the self-service, if they request confidentiality, if this is checked in their self-service, and if they register for classes, either advisors, faculty, whomever, anyone in the registrar, anyone admissions administration looking at a record, if that is checked, you will get a message telling them that this student has requested confidentiality. So this is a critical place here when it comes to biographical, because in self-service, if the confidential is checked, it shows up as a little orange lock next to their name, meaning that the account, their profile, their account, their records are locked. All the other ones, your emergency contacts, additional identification, all of this, may come from some of their slate application, but here's the types of identification. So right now they all pretty much say AIS if they're a student, but here's your different types of additional identification that you may or may not use. This becomes an issue for transfer students or any student that has additional options or records or specialized trainings at the college. This becomes a real key piece. So if a student has a hold or something, you might actually see it under here too. And then records, there are none here, but this would be the number of records by table, meaning things that have happened from the student. This is a lot of transfer information also, possible information coming, and who owns those records. So those are the two critical pieces. Any questions on that? And again, if I click related, this one actually goes, well, because I'm on this tab, it actually goes to a data summary report, which is a wonderful piece to have. So I'm going to click out on that.